Is this you, spending hour upon hour hand grading student quizzes? There is a better way. Take a look at ZipGrade. ZipGrade is an iOS or Android app that instantly scans and grades multiple choice tests. Simply press scan and move the bubble sheets under your smartphone's camera. Your student's score is instantly revealed. If you decide that ZipGrade is the right assessment tool for you, and you would like to receive 3 hours of continuing education credits, follow these steps to submit evidence that you have used ZipGrade with your students. Step 1. Watch the video tutorial. Learn at your own pace. Pause, rewind if needed. Best of all, you pick the time and place, whatever's best for you. Step 2. Use ZipGrade in your classroom with your students. See just how easy and effective this tool can be. And finally, Step 3. Simply submit quiz results by emailing the PDF file to barry.wigginton@gmail.com. I will enter your name in Chalkable and award you 3 hours of continuing education credit. It's that simple. Number 1. On the ZipGrade website, choose Quizzes. Number 2, choose the particular quiz you would like to submit. Number 3, you will export this as a PDF file. Number 4, choose the option for page for each paper. And then finally, you are going to download this file and rename it your full name. This is important so that I can find you in Chalkable and give you credit. Simply send this PDF as an attachment to barry.wigginton@gmail.com. If you are still watching this video, that means that you are interested in learning how easy it is to begin using ZipGrade in your classroom. To get started, all we need are 3 things. Number 1, the ZipGrade app. The app is available for iPhone, iPad, or Android devices. The app is free. Number 2, we need bubble sheets for student responses. These are available at zipgrade.com and can be printed free of charge. Finally, we need the ZipGrade website. This is where you will create classes and manage your grades. We begin on the ZipGrade website, and we begin by creating our first class. We go down to this section, we click on Add New Class, and I am going to simply refer to this as my sample class. All right, when I click Save Class, I see this class has been added. You would want to create one of these for every period of the day or every course that you teach. Now, notice also that it does not have any students in this class. So I'm going to come up to the menu bar and click Students, and I see that I have a student there. Let me just delete that one. That's just a blank student there. You can add students one at a time, but I don't think you'll want to do that. I think that you can find a list of your student names from Chalkable or iNow or whatever it's called, and you'll be able to export those, and you want to export it as a CSV file. So what I have done is this. I have created a Google form, and on this Google form, let me just show you what it looks like here. Basically, I made a Google form that just had 2 questions. What is your first name? What is your last name? This might be the quickest way for you to get your student names. Simply create a Google form with 2 questions and have your students fill it out. Okay, something like Esther Frederick. Okay, and then they'll just hit submit like that. And you know, you could have your kids complete this roster and you could have that done in a matter of moments. When you do, you're going to go up here to the edit button and you're going to click on responses. Now in Google Forms, you will see that the responses, not only are they collected here, but they're also collected into a spreadsheet. So when you click and open up that spreadsheet, you'll see that we have a column for the timestamp, a column for the first name, a column for the last name. ZipGrade can't use this Google form or this Google spreadsheet, so you have to download this. You have to download this as a comma-separated value. Okay? So here's what I'm going to pay attention to right now. Where am I putting this? I'm going to put this on the desktop, and it's called Group 1 Roster. That's important because I'm about to have to go find it. Put it on the desktop, and it's called Group 1 Roster. I click Save. Now, I'm going to go back to the ZipGrade website, and I'm going to import students from CSV. I'm going to choose the file. Now, like I just said, it's on the desktop, and it's called Group 1 Roster. So as I'm scrolling around and I'm looking for that particular kind of file, as I look back up here at the top, I see it here. See, it didn't recognize it as a spreadsheet. So I have to make sure that I know what I name it and where I put it. I'm going to open this. Now, as you noticed, let me go back. Notice that it has a header row. It has labels at the top. So I have to tell ZipGrade that it has a header row. Otherwise, it would think that was another student up there. Now I'm going to upload this. So as you see this, ZipGrade needs for me to tell it what column, like if I had had the students put in their student name, student number, I would be able to tell them which column is that, and I could use their existing student number. But I'm going to identify that this is the field, this is the column that has the first name in it, and this is the one that has the last name in it. And that's really all I have to do if you don't want to include the other numbers. So I have 6 students that have been added, and now I return to my students. And so you can see here from this point, I can always come back and I can edit an individual student. Someone changes courses or moves away, I can delete that student. If I have to change their number, I can go back and I can do that. So I can edit the students from this place. So that's all you have to do in order to get your students imported into ZipGrade from a CSV file. Now that I have created a class called Sample Class, and I have added students to my roster, I need to add students to this particular class. So I'm going to click on Edit Student Roster. The students that I want to select to go into this class, all I have to do is click on them. So you could have all of your students use the one Google form to collect all of their names and then simply go through and select the students for any particular class. This won't take you very long to do at all. Now that I've done this, I can then go and print out bubble sheets that have the students' names and ID numbers already completed. So let's just say that I'm going to create a test called General Knowledge. It's going to be a 50-question test. Do you see that button to download? I click on this. I'm going to give this a different name so I can recognize this. I'm going to say Bubble Sheets for Period 1. I'm going to save that on the desktop. Notice it is a PDF file, and that's the name, Bubble Sheets. When I save this, let me open this up for you. Take a look at this. Now you'll see that each of my students, their names have already been printed. I wouldn't necessarily have to put the name of the quiz. If I wanted to, instead of printing these each time, I would simply have the name of the student and the name of the class, and it would put in the student ID and bubble it in. And that would save me valuable class time instead of having the students to do this. I think what I would do is I would leave off the name of the quiz. If I didn't want to print a set of bubble sheets each time, I could simply print it off with their name, the class, and the ID, print it one time, and then I could make photocopies from then on. So this is a great way to save some valuable class time by having that information already completed for the students. If you don't want to print out bubble sheets with your student names and personal ID numbers already printed, you can simply go to the ZipGrade website and click on Answer Sheets. There are different versions of the form. There's a 20 question, 50 question, and 100 question form. These are all PDF files. I've chosen the 50 question form. And as you look at this, you will see that you could simply print these out just like they are, have students put in their name, and the app will take a picture of their name. You could have them bubble in a student ID if you so desire. But one thing you need to notice is that these questions have not four, but 5 choices. They have an E, and this could be confusing to your students. So you need to point out that there is A, B, C, D, and E. There is a special section also here for the ID. Many students might want to start answering questions at number 1 at the top, and you have to show them that they have to start in the next section below. There's also a place where you can indicate what version of the test that is being graded. You can use any type of multiple choice quiz or test to use with ZipGrade. It doesn't matter if you print it out or if you use one online, such as this one on general knowledge, which is in a Google document. Students simply look at the test, whether it's online or on paper, and then they complete their answers using the bubble sheets. In the next section, I'm going to show you how we use the ZipGrade app to create a key that will grade these multiple choice tests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the ZipGrade, and I am going to create a quiz. So I'm going to go up to the top and press New. So I'm going to change the name of this to General Knowledge, because that is what this quiz is about. It's a 50 question test. So I select that, and that's about all I need. I'm going to assign it to my sample class. There we go. At the bottom it says Create Quiz. So there I have that. It's now time for me to enter the key. So I'm going to tap Edit Key, and I could simply go in and I could select the right choices. Like for instance, if the answer to the first question was A, I could just tap the A, and let's just say that the correct response to 2 is B. I could go in and do this. Now, one of the neatest features of this is I don't actually have to go in and do that. Do you see where it says Scan for Key? I am going to touch that, and I'm going to move this over to a document that I have here. And I'm on purpose, I'm holding it too close right now. Do you see the green dots in the corner? It's looking for the little brackets that's on the page. What I've done is I've printed out one of the blank bubble sheets and filled in the correct answers. And as I raise this up and align those dots, see those green dots? It took a picture of that. Perhaps you heard that. And I'm going to hit Save. Now, again, I could go in and change if I wanted to. This would be the easiest place to change this. I could go in and change this to 5 points each. That's point values for correct answers. And I'm giving 0 points for incorrect answers. So now I have my key. My key is filled in for me exactly like it was on the sheet of paper. What I did on the blank is I just went in and I filled in each of the bubbles for the correct response, probably the same way you would if you were getting ready to grade this. Now, at the top, you see where it says Add Key. I'm not going to do this right now, but I could go in and have an A key and a B key. And what your students would do is they would simply select which version on the bubble sheet. They would select which version it was that they're using. So that is how to create a quiz. using your phone. You use the app on your phone to create the quiz. I prefer to scan it in using the edit key. I just scan in the key, and that way it makes it much easier and probably more correct. Now that we have created our sample class, or in your case, all of your classes, and we have imported our students into our ZipGrade website and added our students to this particular class, it is now time for us to use our app, our ZipGrade app, on our device, like your smartphone or your iPad or whatever you have, and we are going to have students respond to our questions on the bubble sheets. Now, so what I want to do is I want to open up the ZipGrade. I want to select the quiz. In this case, it's general knowledge. And I want to scan papers. Okay? So now I simply move this over. And again, I'm going to line up these dots. I'm going to raise my phone until those dots record my student's grade. If you continue to hold it there, it's going to ask you, do you want to keep both of these scores, or do you want to override the previous one? If you did this accidentally, you do overwrite. Now, I just simply move this paper, do the next one, the next one, it's that fast. Just as fast as the students can lay their paper down, I can, just as fast as the students can lay their papers down, I can grade them that fast. So now I'm going to touch where it says review papers, and I see my scores. I see how we did. We didn't do too bad. I am going to then click on one. Let's just say I'm going to choose Andy Adams. And I'm looking at the screenshot there. On Andy's at the bottom, I don't know if you can see this on your view, but this is the image, and you can switch it to the questions. I like to look at it this way. And when I do, I'm able to see there which questions that Andy missed and which ones Andy got right. I can scroll up to see all of my questions, just like that. Now, I can then go on to Billy, just from the same screen. I can just click the arrow to the right. I can go take a look at Frank. I can look at all of my students, and I get a good idea of how my students did on this class, on this particular test. Now, let's go into the item analysis. This is a very important screen because on this screen you see, for question number 1, the green lets me know that that is the correct answer. The 6 tells me that every student got that right. So that's why it says under percent. For the class, 100% of the students got question 1 correct. And you're going to have some of those. You're going to have depth of knowledge level 1 questions on there where every student will get the question. As you look at question number 2, however, you see that not every student selected that. The correct response was B, and 4 of the students, or 67% of the students, got that question correct. Now, let's take a look at a question like question 5. At 17% of the class that got that correct, that's 1 student out of this class that got that correct. So that tells me that either that's a bad question, or it tells me they didn't understand the question, but I need to go back. It tells me I need to go back and look at that again. So also, question number 9. 9-1, if I have too many questions where every student got it correct, I know that's not a very high depth of knowledge type question. And I need, on my test, I need to expose my students to some of the kinds of questions that they might see on the Aspire test. Not all of those questions are going to be level 1 depth of knowledge. So I think you can see how easy it is for me to use this app to set my key, scan my papers, review the papers, and do an item analysis. Now, the one last thing I would like to talk about is this. Let's say, for instance, that I review a paper. I review Andy's paper, and I see that Andy got number 14, he missed number 14. But because Andy turned his paper in early, and there's plenty of time left in class, I'm going to give him a second chance. So I give Andy's paper back to him, and I circle 14 and number 5 and number 7 and number 10, and I hand the paper back to Andy. When Andy returns his paper at the end of class, I can come up to those 3 bars at the top. I can edit answers. And so, for instance, if Andy said on question number 5, I can go and choose 5 and remove that. And let's just say, for instance, that Andy answered that question. He answered it correctly this time, and the correct answer was A. When I go back, his grade has now been increased from 80 to 85. Let me do that one more time, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at question 14. I'm going to edit the answer. Question number 14. Andy answered that C, but the correct answer to 14 is D. So when Andy brought his paper back, he had the correct answer. When I go back, Andy's score is no longer 85, Andy's score is 90. There is no reason, if you can grade tests this quickly, there is no reason why you can't give your students a second chance. A chance to go back, look over those, rethink them, and correct sometimes silly mistakes, because a test should not be measuring silly mistakes. It should be measuring what the students know. So that is one way that this summative assessment tool can now become a formative assessment tool. That's pretty much it. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you will consider using it in your classroom. Just remember that you get 100 free scans per month, and that's enough. That's enough to decide whether you want to keep this or not. And if you decide to use this all the time, you can get unlimited scans for only $7 a year. Who wouldn't give $7 to never have to sit and grade a multiple choice quiz or test again? I know that this is the kind of thing that teachers need to release them from the mundane task of grading papers so that they can spend their time to better create learning opportunities in the classroom. Thank you for your time. Please contact me if I can be of any assistance to you. Thank you.